Well, hello there. How are you going today? Hope all is fine and dandy in your corner of the realm. And it's time to take another stroll through the strange realm we find ourselves in. And of course, this is for entertainment purposes only, guys. Don't believe anything I say. Don't believe anything you hear in the videos. This is about being autodidactic, collecting information, and coming to your own conclusion.
Well, needless to say, sold my soul.
Sometimes they don't want to, and they're, Gaga, we can't get, the frequency's weird, and, it's sounding a little bit strange, and I'm like, if you don't get this right now, I swear to Lucifer, I'm gonna, I get a little bit mad.
Why is your hand over your eye?
Because I'm a devil worshiper, what are you talking about? Alright, well, I have tickets to see the devil worshiper.
Why do you still do it? Why are you still out here?
Well, it goes back to the destiny thing. I made a bargain with it, a long time ago, and I'm holding up my end.
What was your bargain?
To get where I am now.
Should I ask who you made the bargain with?
with the chief commander.
On this earth?
And this earth, and then in a world we can't see.
Satan worship. Is this what's going on? We've seen this, right? There's so many clips of people saying they've sold their soul. And then we have all the awards ceremonies, which are, they look like rituals, right? And in concerts, all the pop stars and all this kind of stuff. It's crazy. So I guess the question I have is it real? Because everything that we see, everything that we're, allowed to see by those who run the entertainment industry and the internet and everything, right? Why are they showing us this? Why are they putting it out? Why is it so easy to find these clips? That's the question I've got. I think we have to ask that question. Is this a psyop? Is this what they want us to believe for some reason? Whatever that may be. Because, there's a lot of weirdness in Hollywood, right? Apart from the Satan stuff, there's all the spirit cooking that goes on. There's the Black Eye Club. There's the cloning question with all these celebrities, reverse aging and then changing the way they look. The whole hand thing came out, right, with the long fingers. Of course, Jim Carrey's, been a hot topic recently. Like, what do you think's going on here? Are these possessed beings? Are they clones? Are they fallen angels? Not that I particularly believe that narrative. Let me know in the comments. What do you think is actually going on with all these celebrities? As George Carlin said, it's a big club and we ain't in it. The Black Eye Club. The general story behind that is that they have a parasite put in behind their eye, right? The vil parasite that then attaches to the back of their eye and controls them, right? And we know that parasites can control, the thoughts and emotions and other bits and pieces of not just humans, right? It happens a lot in the insect world, happens to animals. There's parasites that get into ants, and then the ants crawl up the grass so that the cows eat them because they need to get into the cow to reproduce. So this is a phenomenon in nature, the whole parasite control thing. But what is it? Is it real? Because the thing about black eyes is we've heard about them our whole lives, right? We've been showing them in movies and cartoons and books and that, but have you ever known anyone with a black eye? I've never had one. I don't think I've ever known anyone who has had one, but we have this narrative, right, of people getting punched in the eye and they get a black eye. But clearly all these celebs have not been punched in the eye. So again, right, same question. What do you think's going on here? Tar-tarring technology. Yeah, those steam, or what look like steam stacks, were spinning. Is this some other kind of stolen technology? Because we know they've stolen so much technology, and that ships were more advanced, in the past. So, like, we had ironclads, they call them, in the Civil War. Submarines, man. The first submarine was in the 1600s, right? With no explanation of how they, got their air filtered, so it was good to breathe. No mention of buoyancy, how they went up and down. And literally the one in the 1600s, they said, was rowed by oars, right? So crazy that there's such a story with the technology that's been stolen, and then they replace it with technology that they can control. It's a weird world, right, that we find ourselves in.
You are 5 brothers. I want you each to start a banking business in a different country. One to go and open a house in Paris, one in Vienna, one in London. Choose the most important centers, so that when money is to be sent from here to London, let us say, you won't have to risk life and gold. And here in Frankfurt, we'll just send a letter to Nathan in London saying, pay so-and-so. And that will be offset by loans from London to Frankfurt. Understand? Yes. In your day, there will be many wars in Europe. And nations that have money to transport will come to the Rothschilds because it will be safe.
Papa, you mustn't talk anymore. The doctor...
I'm giving advice to our sons, Mama, that the doctor cannot give. Remember, unity is strength. All your lives you must stand by one another. No one brother must be allowed to fail while another brother succeeds. Your 5 banking houses may cover Europe, but you will be one firm, one family, the Rothschilds, who work always together. That will be your power.
Well, that was a video from 1934, House of the Rothschilds. And, we see this happening. And that's the story. Nathan Rothschild and his 4 brothers all, took a different country of Europe. And then the whole Napoleon War thing is how they stole all the gold, right? They said that Napoleon lost when he won, or the other way around maybe, which plummeted the gold price and all the stocks. And the Rothschilds bought it all up cheaply and literally bought the UK and all their gold reserves, and they're still up the top, right? And, so again, my question is, why is this such a generational thing? Like that they project, their plans are generational. So is that just because they're good family men and they want their family and their children to do well? Or is it because if they do that, it means that they're going to do well, as in how long do these people live? We've got all these stories from the past telling us of people that used to live hundreds of years, right? Even up to 1,000 and more years. Actually, the further you go back, the longer their lifespan used to be. So, and it also says in the Bible, not that I, believe that narrative totally, but it's interesting. It says that our life is going to be capped at 120 years. Not that we actually live that long at the moment, but there is this thing with age, right? And timelines and how long people live. And of course, this ties into, the Black Eye Club and all that kind of stuff, Satan worshipping. So what is it? Are they longer lived? Are they, a different species? Are they clones? Is that why they keep living? Are they changing bodies? Yeah, let me know your thoughts.
What's that? Oh, a girl was doing research on the Rothschilds and then the very next day had a wild incident that completely freaked her out? Tell me more. Yeah, after this girl was doing research on the Rothschilds and how they've risen to where they're at and how they've taken over practically everything in the world and how she didn't like them for that and the things that they've done, the very next day, a guy, as she's walking her dog, comes sprinting towards her and yells, "Rothschilds," and freaks her out. She starts to back up and wasn't sure what was about to happen, but then the guy took off the other direction, got into an unmarked van, and drove off. Oh, fun! After driving off and then getting home to her residence, there was a note on her door saying, "Be careful who you talk about and how you talk about them." Oh, goody! However, it didn't stop there. Her phone started ringing that night at about 2 in the morning, and all they would say on the phone is Rothschilds, and then would hang up. Goody!
Yeah, well, we know this happens, right? With censorship, we've had the stories of people being jailed for Facebook posts and all this kind of stuff. So they're watching, right? They're watching us. We've all had that experience of talking about a subject or even thinking about it, and you go on social media and suddenly you're being advertised about the thing you were talking or thinking about. It's crazy, right? So these children of Roth, how much power do they have, and who are they? And of course, that video, who knows if it's true or not? There wasn't really any evidence presented there, but we have heard this story and this scenario many, many times. So, yeah, I guess this video is really, I'm just asking the question, what is going on in this strange realm? They take over everything unless you use their fiat currency. Now, we saw this with Gaddafi in Libya. We saw this in Iraq, right, with Saddam Hussein, many other countries that don't accept the Rothschild's banking system. They just go in and start a war or a revolution and ultimately just replace the leadership with someone who will let the banks in. And, this is, if you look right into the story, this is what World War II was about as well. It's definitely not the story that we've been told. And very tied to the Zionist movement, right? The Ashkenazis, who aren't the real Jews, by the way, but they've got up into being the leadership of the Jews. So, again, what is all this about? Like, it's not a human trait to want to control everyone around you, right? To want to steal and lie so that you have much more than you need and everyone else lives in lack. Like, I've never met a human that wanted to go to their neighbor's house and start taxing them, or who wanted to start a war. And this is why, I just say that these beings, whatever they are, they're not us. They're not us. They don't act like us. They don't have the same, emotions as us. They definitely don't have the same ethics. That they just want to control, like a parasite, which is why we call them the parasites. They just want to sit there and suck everything out of us, right? Like our energy, our loose, right? Our dreams and aspirations, our money, right? The family, they're destroying the family and social norms, I guess, right? They're changing society and cultures, all this stuff. But what's the end game? And while I've got you, thanks for watching this. Hope you're enjoying it. Please do leave me a comment. Let me know what you think. Of course, if you're enjoying this, give me a like, share it around, hype it up, all that good stuff. And make sure you're subscribed.
They're not clones. It's worse than that. Everyone's talking about celebrity clones, but what if I told you it's not cloning? It's something the Bible warned us about 3,000 years ago. And you've seen it. Your favorite artist suddenly acts different, or your favorite actor, a different energy, different eyes, and people say they cloned them. But listen, cloning is the cover story for what's actually happening. The Canaanites practiced child sacrifice to Moloch, but it wasn't just killing. In Leviticus 18 and 21, they call it passing through the fire. They were performing soul transfer rituals, harvesting life force and putting entities into other bodies. That technology never died. It just went underground. When someone signs their life away to the industry, that's a covenant. It's a trauma-based programming, and it fractures the original soul. And rituals create the opening. The original person dies spiritually, and a prepared entity walks its way on in the same body but a different driver. And that's why they seem off. In Mark 5 and 9, it says legion, multiple entities in one body, familiar spirits. In Leviticus 19 and 31, it says demons that mimic the person they replaced. This isn't new. It's ancient Canaanite tech repackaged for entertainment industrial complex. It explains sudden personality changes, lost memories, and different mannerisms, and doing unspeakable things without remorse, because their conscious left, and what's operating now is something else entirely. They don't clone bodies, they steal them, and you're watching it happen in real time.
Cloning, this has all come out in the Epstein files as well. There's a lot of stuff, but again, with the Epstein files, why would they give us access to that? Right? We know how they love to censor and they love to warp everything that, the information that we're given. So that's my big question with the Epstein files is why were they released when they implicate all these people who released them? Doesn't make a lot of sense. So, I would think it's either some kind of psyop or there is some kind of good people, good, frequency in there that's letting this stuff out. Let me know your thoughts on that. Why do you think this is all being released? And I'm not saying that the Epstein stuff, is all false, but, with AI coming out, is that coming out now so that they can, basically say everything is AI and it's all fake, all these videos and photos? And is that why they've released them? Because they think that they can, just sort of get us to think, oh, it's just all a conspiracy theory, right? It's all fake. But yeah, my main question is why are we allowed to have access to all this information if it's exposing them? That's my big question. And as far as, that video, why would you sell your soul if you knew that it meant you basically die? Right? You lose your soul and some other entity comes and takes over your body. That doesn't seem like a good deal, does it? And this stuff does go back to Canaan. We have all these narratives that go back to Canaan, those who worship Baal, the Cana Baals, and them sacrificing children to Moloch. And we still see this today with all the, sacrifice kind of stuff they talk about, even cremating bodies, right? The burnt offering. And we have the spirit cooking again, all this weird stuff. And even just recently it's come out, and again, who knows if it's true, but that Iran and Mexico and some other country, I can't remember which one, burnt effigies of Baal and Moloch. What's that about? Are there two, sides here? Are there the possessed side and the human side that are fighting each other? Because, all this war, whatever they're telling us about this war is definitely not what's going on. It's a perspective they want us to believe. But again, what do you think's going on? Let me know your thoughts.
The point isn't to convince yourself everything will be perfect. The point is to remove the illusion that the negative outcome is the only possibility. Because once your brain sees multiple outcomes instead of just one threat, your nervous system settles. Your body stops reacting as if disaster is inevitable. As I wrote in The Flint Mind, thoughts aren't facts, they're interpretations, and interpretations can be changed. So the real discipline isn't forcing positivity, it's refusing to let negativity become your default interpretation. Stay neutral, see both sides of the coin, and keep your nervous system steady enough to deal with whatever actually happened.
Yes, well, our minds, being positive, being negative, obviously, there's been a big push, right? Just be positive, just say affirmations and think happy thoughts. And that is all good. We definitely should be happy and positive. But the thing is, we're all programmed and we're programmed to see the world in a certain way. And so when we look out at the world, when we interact with people, we're not necessarily seeing what is there or hearing what the people are saying because we've got so many filters, right? And this is all to do with your RAS, your reticular activating system. It basically shows you the world that you expect to see. And so a good way to get around this and to actually make movement forward is to recognize that we are programmed, that we are running programs, that we expect people to be certain ways. It's like when you hear a politician talking, right? We're automatically, well, they're full of crap. And so we don't hear what they're saying. We do this in everyday life with all people. With your partner, you might think that they're, I don't know, frustrating. So you'll listen to them like that. Or you might think that they're always nagging you. So, when you talk to them, you're not going to hear what they say because your program is they're nagging me and we don't like to be nagged. But if you can, understand that that's the program you're running, then you can stop it. If you're talking and you go into the nagging, if you catch that and you're like, oh, that's right, I see them as a nagger, then you can not do that. You can actually listen properly to what people are saying. And when you do that, you can make change in the now, because now is all that exists, right? Past doesn't exist. Future doesn't exist. We can't go there. That's all the programming and the story. So if you can stop the story in the moment, you can then make a different decision going forward. And I think that is a way that we can make real change, right? Because, we've all tried positive thinking. It's been around for 50, 60 years at least. But the world ain't more positive, is it? It seems to be getting more negative. So there's a reason. And the reason is that just positive thinking doesn't work. But let me know your thoughts on that. And, what have you done? Have you changed your mindset? Have you changed the way you see the world? Like what what results have you had? Let me know in the comments. And there we go, guys. Another one done. Thanks for spending some time with me. I hope you enjoyed that one. Please give me a like if you enjoyed it. Share it around, hype it up, all that cool stuff. Definitely leave me your comments. Let me know your thoughts. And if you're not subscribed, what the bloody hell are you doing? Hit the subscribe button. And most importantly, stay awesome, because you are. And I'll talk to you on the next upload. Bye for now.